With the disappointing launch of the Samsung S25 Ultra, the demise of Huawei, and the boring iPhone, can Honor take the lead in what is the smartphone crown of 2025? With steep competition from Oppo, OnePlus and Vivo, does this phone have what it takes? Well, let's find out in my full review. It's been a long time since testing an Honor device. The last Honor phone I tested and used was the Honor Magic 5 Pro, and I came away feeling hopeful yet disappointed. Now, is it still the case with the Honor Magic 7 Pro? Spoiler alert, no. This device is absolutely fantastic, and it reunites the spark for the smartphone market. I've been using this device for a while now. You'll see that all the other big channels, when it had its global release, they released their videos and their reviews straight away. I actually had my device for a couple of weeks now, but I've decided to prolong this video because I really wanted to use this device, really push it through its paces, find out what's really excellent about this device and what I'm not so keen on. So I'm just going to give you my honest experience and reviews of this device, not necessarily the specs and key features because you've seen all that before. This device was purchased with my own money from, shout out here, the Average Dad Tech Store. This was one of his old review devices, and this is the Chinese model, so some of these features might be slightly different in the global model, but I'll explain why I went for this particular model later on in the video. He was actually really helpful, really fantastic, and the experience was really good. So if you are in the market for a smartphone, check out the Average Dad Tech Store. I actually reached out to Mike from Average Dad channel and asked if we could work together on some content. Unfortunately, because of the size of my channel, it's not something that he's interested in at the moment. However, he did give me a lot of good advice and helpful information, so I'd like to thank Mike from the Average Dad Tech channel, and I recommend you purchase your devices from his store. Let's start off with the design, and it's a mixed bag here. In some ways I absolutely love some of the design decisions made, and in other ways they're a bit disappointing. The move to flat sides and a less of a curved panel for me is a disappointment. It doesn't quite feel as comfortable in the hand, and it being a really large and really wide phone doesn't quite have the same perfect hand feel of the old Huawei devices that they clearly want to resemble. The camera bump here as well is a bit generic. It's less ugly than last year's Magic 6 Pro, which was god awful, but again, it's just a bit generic. The screen, on the other hand, it's around 6.8 inches, and it's absolutely stunning. It's a really nice panel. It's super clear, it's super bright, has low pixel dimming at loads of different brightnesses, which means it has a lot of eye care benefits. There's a whole section in the settings menu that's dedicated to eye care, and it's really nice to see that a smartphone manufacturer is really looking after their customers in this department. There's eye comfort mode that can be scheduled, there's low pixel dimming, there's a really low brightness and a super bright maximum brightness for those sunny days. It's a really readable and easy to use screen. Just a shame they can incorporate some of that Samsung magic with the anti-reflective coating on their displays. Of course, there is a pill-shaped cutout right in the centre of the display. Some people won't like that, but for me, I really like it, and Honor has made the most of the features they can add to it, a bit like Apple with its dynamic island. These are of good benefit as well. It has probably the best selfie camera on any smartphone I've ever used, as well as a time of flight sensor and 3D face recognition. With 100 watt wired and 80 watt wireless charging and 5 watt reverse wireless charging, you're definitely catered for in the battery department. However, this also does depend on what model you go for, because the Chinese version has a 5850 mAh battery, which is the one I have, or the global version has a 5250 mAh battery, which is a really big difference, and it is an important thing to mention here. Honor claims that it's due to legislation and registry reasons. However, I don't believe that. I believe that they just want to have another sales tactic for their Porsche design model that will be coming global soon. I also think this phone is really well priced in the UK. On Honor's website, if you shop around, you can get it for $799 with actual free gifts as well. Now then, let's talk about the reason most people don't buy Honor smartphones, and that is the state of Magic OS. I'm happy to report here though that I'm actually really happy with actually what I'm seeing and the improvements that I've seen from the Magic 5 Pro. I mean, we're not there yet, it's still far from my favourite software skin. There's a lot of work to do around theming, customization and layout of the settings menu, but we are making progress slowly, and it is nice to see some Honor features starting to trickle in here and not just the old software from Huawei that they've carried over. You've got what's called Honor's Magic Capsule. This is basically Apple's Dynamic Island, where you do get a small widget appear at the top where the camera cutout is. However, functionality here is limited. I haven't seen many apps adopt the use of this. YouTube Music, Spotify, as well as some system inbuilt apps use this. However, everything else doesn't make use of this, and it'd be nice to see Honor working with other companies to make this much more well used throughout the UI. An absolutely highlight here for me is security. You get a secure keyboard, you get like AI privacy call, anti-theft of phone, which if someone swipes it out of your hand, the phone will detect it and lock the phone. There's anti-glance, where if people look over your shoulder, it will hide the sensitive information in your notifications, and these are all features that nobody's talking about. It does feel that some real love, real care and attention has been put into Magic OS recently, and it's really nice to see. It makes that phone just feel a little bit more special. We're going to get onto the cameras shortly, but the other disappointment for me is the camera wrap. Just feels a little bit half-baked, a little bit cluttered. It's a mix between what Huawei used to offer, with Honor just bolting some options on top, but just without those features that we really care about. Another highlight here is call quality. You can hear people extremely well on this device, and people can hear you extremely well. They're crystal clear, really noticeably different compared to other devices. The call quality is fantastic. I know we spoke about battery earlier, but with the actual battery life of the phone, now hear me out here, I can kill this phone by 6 PM. It doesn't last all day, and I'm yet to find a smartphone that does last me all day. I don't think it's bad battery life, but I did expect better from the size of the cell that I've got inside here. My Huawei Pura 70 Ultra lasts around the same time with a much smaller battery and a less efficient chipset, so I feel like some more optimization is needed here. I haven't used this phone enough yet to have a complete conclusion on the cameras of this device, as I really like to put them through their paces and take them on many trips. However, I have still used the camera, and I will share my initial impressions. I will also share the comparison in another video with the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra. So what I've done here is I lined up a few examples of photos from the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra to the Magic 7 Pro. As you can see here, it's quite clear to see that we've had a definite influence from ex-Huawei employees in developing this camera. The colours are actually remarkably similar, yet they are done in a slightly different way. And I have to say, I absolutely love the cameras on this Magic 7 Pro. The atmosphere that these shots give you, that sort of DSLR look and feel of those photos really comes across strong. Is it a phone that makes you want to take it out of your pocket, go out and take photos? Yes, it is. It feels really special to go and use. I would say that detail levels are not quite as strong as a Huawei, although sometimes that is an advantage. Images do appear less over sharpened in certain scenarios compared to Huawei's over processing occasionally. Shadows and contrast also remain remarkably similar. However, I was a big fan of the cameras on the Huawei Pura and their way of processing, so it's no surprise that I like this device's cameras. You do get a really natural rendition to most colours if you shoot in original mode. Authentic does boost them slightly, but it also gives you more character, so for certain situations it's nice to have the option of different camera modes. You have Honor's Sports mode and Burst Shooting mode, which is basically similar to Huawei's Snapshot mode, and I'm so glad this is still here and in action. It can get you some fantastic looking shots that look phenomenal. Fast moving subjects are captured, but only this works in decent lighting conditions, so if you do shoot in dark conditions you are going to get blurry shots with a lot of noise and much less detail. Dynamic range is also fantastic here, and that's coming from the Huawei Pura 70 Ultra, which also had amazing dynamic range, but I would say it's even a step up from that. The processing time of the images, the natural rendition of really bright subjects really comes across strong here, and it is a noticeable highlight of these cameras, and that's throughout all lenses, whether it's ultra wide main or telephoto. That main sensor isn't my favourite. Yeah, of course it's up to the job, but it's not a 1-inch sensor, so you don't get outstanding background blur that you do with other devices that have a 1-inch sensor. The telephoto is an interesting one here. It's a similar setup to the Vivo X200 Pro, however it does have less optical reach. Detail is fantastic, however I did expect slightly better performance in low light. It's a good performing camera, but I don't think it's optimised as well as it could be, so if Honor work on that, then it really could be a fantastic camera phone. Stabilisation when shooting photos or videos throughout these cameras is also a highlight here. It's really stable, and you can get some outstanding stabilisation on any videos or photos you shoot. The AI super zoom feature here, I'll be honest with you, I'm not bothered. You can turn it on and off if you like it. If you don't like it, then just don't turn it on. It does something. The images still look bad either way. I'm sure in certain scenarios where it's been optimised extremely well that it will make a helpful difference, but in everyday shooting I don't really notice much difference, to be honest with you. The biggest disappointment here for me is the lack of close focus and distance for the main and telephoto cameras. You can't get as close as a Huawei Pura 70 Ultra, and it just lets it down a little bit. That is a feature that I want on a flagship camera device, and I do miss it coming from that device that I previously had. Nighttime shots are also pretty stunning here. There's a lack of noise, a lot of sharpness and clarity, but not overdone. Video performance is adequate here, but it's definitely not a leader in that department. You have a movie mode, which gives you the ability to film in log mode. However, it's limited to 1080p, and you can't even use the telephoto or ultra-wide cameras. It's such a disappointment. Why do you do that, Honor? Portrait video is also an option, but again, it's limited at 1080p. What a disappointment. 2x video shot in movie mode looks dreadful. There's a lack of sharpness, a lot of noise, and it's not really even usable. Portrait shots, however, rather than videos, do come out extremely well. I love that natural rendition on the edges of a subject when shooting in portrait mode. You also have Honor, who's teamed up with a French photo studio, I believe, to give you sort of some filters for portrait mode. Normally I think they're a gimmick, however here they look fantastic, and I love that addition and that extra character they can add to your images. It just adds to the shooting experience of this device. There's also no ability to turn off image stabilisation. Why bother giving us log mode and these pro features if we still can't disable that, which means your nighttime videos are still left with lots of judder. Nighttime videos in general don't look stunning here either. They do the job and they're adequate, but they are slightly noisy and a lack of detail can be found. So my conclusion on this device is, despite all the positives and the negatives, I think it is one of the best devices of 2025. I absolutely love it, and it's probably the best phone I've ever owned. Those software features that have been added, such as gestures, so you can hold your palm up and squeeze to take a screenshot, you can flip your hand over to go back, and you can do a few other gesture based activities in the settings, all from that time of flight sensor. These are all nice options to have, and it elevates this device to be one of my favourites. Hope you liked the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.